you will only have 15 minutes of freedom here in the UK. So let me tell you the plan. The plan is in Oxford, and this has just been passed by the council, to divide the city here into, a bit of a squiggly city, into 6 parts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And you will only have the freedom to operate in the part that you live. So if this is you, the idea is that everybody will live within 15 minutes of the things they need. 15 minutes of a school, 15 minutes of a doctor's, 15 minutes of a supermarket. And if you want to travel to the other zones in your city, or maybe soon your town, you will have to go out an approved route. You will have to journey around the outside of the city in order to re-enter another section of the city. This plan is supposed to be saving the planet. And the idea is that you won't simply be able to cross over into other sections of your city anymore. So if your mother, for example, lived over here, you wouldn't be able to just go across and see her. This would all be done via e-gates, electronic gates, and number plate recognition. You in your area will only be allowed within that 15-minute zone that you've been allocated. The number plate recognition will know if you leave your zone, and you can apply for permission, a permit to leave your zone and travel to another zone, but you'll only be allowed to do this about 100 times a year. This is real. I just have to stop and say that. This has actually been passed by Oxford Council. This is happening in the next 2 years, 2024 it begins. And if you use up all your 100 passes that someone designates whether you're allowed to have to go into the different zones, you'll be fined. Your number plate will be recognised. It will observe that you've gone somewhere you're not allowed in your own city, and it will fine you £100 or £80 or whatever the fine number is. This is coming your way. This has already been approved in Oxford, in Canterbury. As another scheme, it's for 5 zones, but the same principle. This is not by chance. And what I want to take you through now is the controlling mechanism to any criticism of this. Then I want to take you through the parallels, the similarities, the patterns that you can see from this sort of coercive control. And finally, I want to take you to the dark side. So 15-minute cities, how they manipulate the narrative, controlling any opposition, patterns that we've learnt already from COVID, and then I'll take you to the dark side. So when you're locked into these neighbourhoods and you're only allowed within 15 minutes of your home address, the way that they're going to and are already controlling the conversation, and think back to COVID, think back to COVID, think back to COVID, they're creating fact checkers. So anybody that's spoken of this already, whether it's Sky News in Australia with lovely Rowan, or GB News, or anyone trying to talk about this zoning restriction in cities where you're going to be effectively told you can only go this far and you must stay this far. Any kind of opposition to that, any voices like this one saying, can you not see the worry here, the control on this? Now we have the fact checkers. So you have the fact checkers that will be promoted on Google, promoted on any search engine, fact checkers on Twitter, AFP, fact checking, saying, no, this isn't a climate lockdown. This is just some traffic control. No, people will still be able to go wherever they want. Well, yes, you will, but you'll be fine. No, there won't be physical barricades. Well, no, there won't. There'll be e-gates, and there'll be nameplate recognition and probably facial recognition to follow, which is far more scary than an actual bollard that I could go blooming crashing my way through at my own cost. All of these fact checkers are, no, but what they're saying is fine, is not fine at all. The next thing, which we saw so many times and I've seen all my life, is that you accuse those who are speaking out, like myself, of causing harm. You say that in Oxford, the councillors have had to stay at home for the day because of all of the abuse they've been taking online. These extremists, these conspiracy theorists are threatening physical violence. You make it so that anyone speaking out against this is the enemy and may cause harm. And this maybe should be policed. And shouldn't we be policing the speech of those who speak out against 15-minute cities or being told you're not allowed to drive where you want to anymore? And the last thing is just the labeling of people as conspiracy theorists means that you automatically dismiss them. So for me, I'm just a regular mom, pay my taxes. I can see that telling people where they can and can't drive is not okay. That becomes a conspiracy theorist. Just like it was racist was used to silence people who just had an opinion about something. This is another way of labeling people. Now I want to talk about the patterns. So if you are open-minded for one moment, let's see if you can see some of the patterns from COVID lockdowns repeating themselves with this traffic calming system that requires you to stay within 15 minutes of your home address and not cross over into your neighbour's turf. So one pattern is to create a morally superior rationale, a morally superior reason. So the reason that's given for these sort of things, it's never the actual reason, but the reason. So with COVID, it was stay home so you don't kill old people, a morally superior reason, right? Or interfering with Ukraine and Russia, morally superior reason. Oh, we're fighting for democracy. With this, it's, oh, this is about the climate. And if you bring out of university people who truly believe, young people who truly believe, like the people who glued themselves to the pictures in the gallery, they truly believe they only have 5 years to live, that they believe that. This is the morally superior reason. We need to do this. We need to lock people down into 15-minute zones because we need to save the planet. Morally superior reason, right? 2, you sell it in softly. So as with COVID, you sell it in slowly, one thing at a time. So this has been going on in Oxford since 2015, but no one really noticed because silly councillors. And then 2019, another consultation. And 2022, it's back again. And despite 90% of people saying no, it's going ahead anyway. And then you put in 20 miles an hour zones. If you don't see this coming in your area, I'm thinking Wales will be next. 20-mile-an-hour zones. You see that coming? That is schooling you to prepare for 15-minute cities where you don't get to go outside your 15-minute zone. So you sell it in softly. Number 3, you focus on the minutiae. And when the powerful were testing out the levers of control on us, as I believe in lockdown, focusing on the minutiae worked brilliantly. How many people can I have in my home? Now let's change that rule. Now you're allowed 6. Now you're allowed 8. Now you're allowed out twice a day, but for 1 hour, but not for 45 minutes, but you can't sit on a bench. Now you can do this, but not that, but you must do this and you must be wearing a red hat. Blind people with the minutiae because they focus on it. So in this example, 15 minutes, but you will be able to go to that segment, but only if you use the ring road and then only up to 100 times a year, otherwise you'll be fined. And the amount of the fine will be about £85, but that amount will be blah, blah, blah. And you'll be given a pass if you're this, but not that. Get people to focus on the minutiae because what you're then doing is taking them away from the, I'm sorry, why would you be telling me where I'm allowed to drive in my own city? It works perfectly with ordinary people because ordinary people love to know the rule because they like to stay within the rule because they don't want to be in trouble. You silence the opposition, so people like me, conspiracy theorists, penalise them, demonetise them, call them nutters, make them anti, trying to keep people alive. Imagine them saying it's about climate lockdown when all it is just a little bit of e-gates and, nameplate, number plate recognition. Oh, those crazy people. Make them nutters and promote people who love this stuff. Show people cycling, cyclists saying how lovely it is to be able to cycle about freely. Focus on promoting. And then, as with COVID, reward people who promote this stuff. So maybe if you promote it, you'll have special privileges, like the people in government who told us we had to be locked down, but then were partying themselves, or like the newsreaders who told us we had to stay indoors, but were caught in the pub or pissed off to Antigua. Silence opposition, promote those who will talk proudly about this, and give those who promote it special privileges. Okay, to the dark side. So, what I believe and what I talk about are two different things in the sense that I don't go to the dark side very often because it's too much. And what I'm trying to do is bring an audience with me. People who hate me, fine. People who like me, fine. People who agree with me sometimes and don't. And what I avoid doing is talking